All right, I'm back today with 3 horror books that I think are fantastic, that not many people talk about. Well, that's a slight lie because the first book a lot of people have talked about, and I got onto it late. But the other 2 I don't really hear much about on BookTube and on YouTube, so I'm going to talk about those today. I do read horror. I know that's kind of outside of my normal reading. I usually do these videos about crime and noir books, but I do read some horror and other types of stuff. And it's also spooky season, so here we go. First book is Tender is the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. And I know I have mispronounced that name, and I've tried to teach myself how to get it, and I just completely flubbed it right there. So I apologize for that. But what I don't apologize for is recommending this book. It is absolutely fantastic. It's possibly one of the better books that I've read this year. This book went around BookTube a lot, I think last year, and I bought it and I just didn't read it because everyone seemed to be talking about it. Everyone was reading it. And I'm the kind of person that when things get really buzzed and talked about a lot, I just kind of back away from it. But I decided to just pick it up because it's Halloween and I thought I should read a horror book anyways. And wow, what a book. First of all, it's not really a horror book. It is scary, but it's not really like a horror book. It's not a Stephen King type book. There's no monsters in it. Well, there are people who are monstrous, but it's not really a horror book. It's a dystopian fiction book. It's a speculative fiction book. And in fact, one of the blurbs on mine calls it a thrilling dystopia that everyone should read. And I have to say, that is absolutely correct. Usually blurbs are not very good and just kind of marketing copy, but that is absolutely fantastic. I couldn't sum it up better myself, although I am making this video. So in case you don't know, in case you've been living under a rock like I do, it's set in a near future in which all animals carried a virus, which was contagious and killed humans. So all animals have been killed. So theoretically, there is no meat available. So to fill this need, someone and the governments of the world have come up with a way to raise humans as livestock, basically. And humans are now consumed as meat. Pretty horrifying, but I want to say what makes this book so horrifying is not so much the consumption of the meat, although there are some scenes of that, which come later in the book. But the early horror in the book is simply the language that is used to discuss the human livestock, if you will, and the way that these humans are raised. I mean, they're raised just like livestock, just like animals, and they are property. And their bodies are altered in ways, like their vocal cords are removed and things like that to make it easier to kill them and consume them, basically. It's pretty mind-blowing. It's a pretty mind-blowing book, I have to say, and I wish I would have read it a lot sooner. It's a fantastic book. I'm going to talk about this book quite a bit. And the storytelling in it, fantastic. The pacing in it, perfect. The length of it, perfect. It's not this overly long 700-page opus. It's not an epic. It's a very linear story. We don't really know much background, and we don't really need to because that's not what the story is focused on. The story is really focused on this raising of humans as livestock and the impact that that has on the characters. And the main character, the narrator of the book, well, he's not really the narrator, but the main character, his family, before what's called the transition, they raised livestock. And then when they had to cull all of their animals, fell on some hard times, and now they're sort of back again. They have a slaughterhouse and they slaughter humans. And the main character has lost his own child, and this has deeply traumatized him and is kind of making him question everything. He's doing some very rebellious things, and he develops a relationship with a female livestock, a female that should be slaughtered to eat. He develops a relationship with this woman, and she kind of becomes a surrogate. But I won't give away any more than that if you have not read it. It's fantastic. Now, the writing in this is something that really blew me away, and I really want to talk about it, and I hope you're still watching this, because even though this is a genre book, even though this is a horror book, the writing in it is absolutely stellar, in my opinion. It's the kind of almost dry, it's very straightforward writing. It's very modernist kind of writing, and it doesn't fall into that trap of purple prose, of lots of heavy metaphors all over the page, of lots of heavy description. And it really just tells the story, and it's very clear that the author really is on a mission to convey a message to us, and not just to tell a creepy, trendy, spooky, horrific, gross story, but that there is an underlying message to it all. And so, in my opinion, it's a book that really just fires on all cylinders and just absolutely nails it. It's probably one of the best books I've read this year, and it's definitely one of the best horror books that I've read ever. I mean, I would definitely put it in at the top. It's like an S tier horror book. So one more time, Tender is the Flesh, Agustina Bazterrica. I have to apologize again for butchering that name. If you have not read this book yet, you really need to read it. It's very, very well written, and it's very poignant, especially for our times in which groups of people are now treated as less than human. That's what this book is really all about, is how do humans treat other humans as less than human. That's really the whole point of the story. Okay, now the second book I read it on my Kindle. Unfortunately, Kindle is just nothing great to look at, so we'll throw the cover up here. It is The Devil Thinks I'm Pretty by Charlene Elsby. This was a book that I purchased on a whim, and it was something I had seen on Instagram, I think through the Apocalypse Party Instagram account. Apocalypse Party is a horror publisher, and they publish some interesting books, some pretty, I think of them as like edgy books. I'm not sure what the proper new term for this stuff is. I'm just a dumb old white guy. I don't really know a lot of stuff. But I saw the author, I saw the author speaking on an Instagram reel. Her name is Charlene Elsby. And I was really struck by, how articulate she is. And I was really intrigued by this book and the premise of the book. The premise is that there is a young woman who may or may not be haunted by the devil or embodying some kind of satanic spirit. She's not sure herself, and she's just kind of going through day-to-day life. She's got a pretty crappy life, coming from a broken home, falls in love with, or she thinks she's falling in love with a boyfriend. They develop a relationship, and together they kind of spiral downward. I can't really give away too much more. It's a very slim, a very short book that I think it's very powerful. It's very well written. And it takes a very unique turn at the end. And I guess all I'm going to say about that is, if you like the haunted film trope, or if you're not familiar with that, just think of like Blair Witch Project. The ending, similar to that, but really, really powerful and really well done. It's a book that, again, similar to Tender is the Flesh, it's not really just trying to scare you, although it certainly does, and there are some profoundly disturbing and scary things in the book. It's really kind of mapping out an individual's decline and a person's decline in a society that, or in a community, I should say, that doesn't have a place for people who are kind of down and out and isn't interested in helping anyone. And so I think Charlene Elsby, on top of telling a really horrific and scary story, also does a great job of mapping her character's kind of decline and descent and kind of falling out of society and into something very evil. Similar to Tender is the Flesh, the writing very profound, very good, very dry, very modernist. Can tell that Elsby really knows how to write and that she probably has a really strong background in writing and in literature. And she just doesn't fall into the purple prose trap of so much genre writing. So I think it's really fantastic. And she's an author that really should be talked about a bit more on BookTube. I don't know, maybe a lot of people are into her and I just don't know it. But if she's new to you, definitely check her out. Check out The Devil Thinks I'm Pretty. Really great book. Absolutely loved it. All right, and the third book for this video, I also read on my Kindle. It is Poking Holes by Juan Valencia. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Juan Valencia also has a YouTube channel that you should definitely check out if you're into horror or if you're into transgressive fiction or you just like really great analyses and interesting dives into strange and weird kind of books. His channel is called Plagued by Visions. It was one of the first BookTube channels that I found, and I really, really got into it. And I really wish that he would do more BookTube videos, but I understand sometimes your life changes. But anyways, this short story collection, Poking Holes, very disturbing, really weird. One of those books where you just got to ask you want to ask the author, like, are you okay? Like, where did you come up with this stuff? But I know where he came up with this stuff because a lot of it is mirrored or taken from society. So again, similar to The Devil Thinks I'm Pretty, there's a lot of just kind of mapping and charting of the decline of these characters, whether it's mentally or physically or both. And it's a lot of characters and people that are kind of at the margins of society or people that society just doesn't want to have a place for or doesn't make any room for, just doesn't care for. So yeah, obviously very marginalized people. And of course, people who are up to some pretty evil things involving poking some holes. I won't give away any more spoilers than that, but you got to kind of read this book with a little bit of tongue in cheek. Don't take it too seriously. Otherwise, you will be genuinely disturbed. So I'm just going to say the title really rings true for a lot of the stories. But all kidding aside, I'm laughing and chuckling because I'm just thinking of that title and the occurrences that happen within the book of various holes that get poked. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. I'm laughing. But in all seriousness, though, great book, great writing. Juan, you need to be writing more. I hope you're writing more. I hope you've got more writing coming out because, again, similar to the other two books that I've mentioned, and what I think makes this book so great is that he avoids the trap of the similes and the metaphors that so many genre writers fall into. And he's really able to just tell a really tight, really compact story, some of them quite touching and quite tragic, all of them genuinely disturbing, but he's able to pace it out and kind of drip feed you enough to keep you coming back in that you want to read this, even though it's gross and weird and disturbing. So definitely a great book. If you're a horror reader and you have not read this book, you really should. And also it's a great way to support a great booktuber. Again, his booktube channel is Plagued by Visions. Go check it out. Go subscribe. He's a really great guy, really interesting. Got a pretty interesting life, I think. So definitely check that out. All right, so there you go. So there are 3 great horror books, 2 that hardly anyone is talking about on BookTube, 1 that a lot of people have talked about, but all 3 of them very well written, very fantastic. Even if you're not a horror reader, would definitely strongly recommend these. I think you will find the writing in them to be top-notch and definitely some really compelling and horrifying storytelling.